and welcome to ET Insight, the one show that brings you a 360-degree view of the big picture that's driving business and economy. I'm Supriya Srinath and here's what we have for you on the show today. India's massive unique identification project is all set to get a new lease of life. Find out why. And despite the apparent problems, the UID is a necessity for India. Director General of the UID, R.S. Sharma, spells out what is the road ahead for this ambitious venture. A noble idea that hasn't been given proper thought. That is the status of the unique identification project today. A delay in delivery of numbers being issued, infighting between top government officials, and rising doubts on the viability have cast dark clouds on one of India's most ambitious projects. Swati D'Souza finds out what went wrong with the project and what can really be done to sort out the mess.
It's been 3 years since the UPA launched the ambitious Aadhaar to provide a unique identification number to each Indian. Soon thousands of people across the country were enrolling for this biometric ID, which would have multiple uses. The going was good, and at last count the UID had enrolled 20 crore Indians and provided IDs to half of them. So where is the project currently? On a 6 weeks break starting last month. And here's what the break is for.
For us to take stock of all our achievements, examine our processes, our technology, our audit, etc., and see how we can, make any slight improvements or tweaks. And then we intend to definitely roll it out by April.
While that is the apparent reason, this break is not without controversy. The Food Ministry recently snubbed the project and is working with the National Informatics Center to put in place a system for targeted dissemination of subsidies. And the Home Ministry had raised a security alarm about the involvement of private vendors in the collection of sensitive biometric and personal data of citizens. A matter that was settled just before the project went on its break.
UIDI has taken note of these concerns and will do an intensive review of all processes and procedures over the next few weeks to ensure that all the security concerns are addressed.
But these are not the only problems with the UID. Its very structure has been in question for a while. That's because the project commenced even before the Parliament had approved the National Identification Authority of India Bill, which sought to make the UID AI a statutory authority. The Ministry of Planning defended that, saying that it consulted the Ministry of Law and Justice over the matter, which in turn clarified that the government could use its executive powers until the legislation was put into place. But 3 months ago, the Parliament's Standing Committee on Finance, headed by former Finance Minister Yashwant Sinha, rejected that argument and was of the opinion that the proposed bill as well as the UID scheme in its current avatar should be scrapped.
So far, the work which has been done of giving Aadhaar numbers is without legislative sanction. So the sooner we have legislative sanction for what the government is doing, the better it will be, because there are many legal experts who are questioning the fact that government does not have the authority to collect all the information that they are collecting under the Aadhaar scheme without a legislative backing.
The report states that since the scheme covers all residents of the country, including illegal immigrants, that could entitle them to government benefit. It pointed out that there were several areas of concern regarding the scheme, as it had been conceptualized with no clarity of purpose and is being implemented in a directionless way. For instance, the UID was initially meant only for BPL families but has been extended to all residents in India without any clear purpose.
Actually, if you look at the short time in which we've come to the large numbers of people who have the cards, and more importantly, in the changes that are being brought about in the people's views about what this thing is about. We are a democracy and we need to have debates and discussions about something which is so new and could have such a wide impact, and we are going through that.
The report states that it's not just the UID, but other government agencies associated with the project that had also failed. Take for instance the case of the EGOM, which was set up for combining the UID with the National Population Register, and for defining clear and specific targets for the scheme. The report states that this EGOM failed on several counts. Next in line is the issue of duplication of data. 6 agencies like the NPR, Manrega, BPL Census, UID AI, RSBY and Bank Smart Cards are overlapping. So the government is spending multiple times on collecting the same data.
Despite UID now existing, several government departments and several ministries continue to ask for additional pieces of paper. So the original purpose, namely it was going to be a single piece of paper, that has not been accomplished.
That's not all. The quality of the biometric data collected is also in question. It's a well-known fact that nearly 15% of the population don't have recognizable fingerprints as a result of manual labor. Others are not eligible for retinal scans because of physical deficiencies and disabilities. To top that, since the data provided by each person is verified by a local enrollment agency, there's a huge scope for manipulation, which means that the scheme is not well equipped to plug leakages for targeted subsidies.
If you are going to use biometrics and particularly fingerprints on such a large scale and take into account the fact that something like 200 to 250 million people in India do not have proper biometric records, it's going to be a disaster in any policy on inclusion. I mean, it will be a policy which actively promotes exclusion, particularly of poor people, from accessing social security schemes.
So far, the government has allocated 3,170 crore rupees for issuing 10 crore Aadhaar numbers by March 2011. And for financial year 2013, the Finance Minister allocated 14,232 crore rupees for the UID project.
I propose to allocate adequate funds to complete another 40 crore enrollments starting from April 1, 2012. Aadhaar platform is now ready to support the payments for MG Narija, old age, widow and disability pensions, scholarship directly to the beneficiary accounts in selected areas.
That's a lot of money for issuing IDs to no specified target group and for no specified purpose. That's one side of the story. On the other side, 320 million Indians living below the poverty line have little access to basic amenities like food and water. There's no doubt that something needs to be done about this section of the society, which represents a third of India's population. The government spends several thousands of crores through hundreds of schemes annually to help this lot, but hardly anything ever reaches here. That's why the UID is so important for the country. Picture this. The government spent 60,500 crore rupees to provide subsidized food grains and kerosene to 10 crore BPL families and 13 crore APL families through the PDS last year. It spent 40,000 crore rupees for its flagship Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme Manrega and nearly 21,000 crore rupees for primary education under Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. But all this money hardly reached the targeted section because of massive leakages in the system. In fact, nearly all of the 200 social welfare schemes are plagued with problems like ghost beneficiaries, multiple cards, shadow ownership, misidentification, physical leakage and misreporting.
Typically, people in India are very good at gaming the system. So we have seen this happening even in the Narega program, where there has been a lot of false identifications which have been made, where people who do not really take part in the particular scheme have already been, are very much there on the Narega list. The same thing happens for PDS, where the wrong set of people are being identified. So while the UID will give you a good identity system in the country, but the implementation would of course be important about whether we'll still be able to get hold of the right people, or whether there will be a case of saying that we have a certain section of people who will again game this entire system and make sure that there is the inclusion part gets jeopardized.
According to a report by BCG, the UID could help plug all these problems and additionally facilitate integration of beneficiaries, faster audits, easy payment management and permit mobility of beneficiaries.
In India, a large number of people are migrant labor. There are a large number of births in the country which are not registered. And in general, people who have lesser means are not able to, they fall into a vicious cycle. They're not even able to get access to the schemes that are out there. So I think there is a clear and pressing need for it. Also, I feel that as a country, our physical infrastructure is somewhat lacking. It sets a foundation for building a world-class, actually best-in-class digital infrastructure.
The benefits of the UID cannot be ignored, but the project needs to be on a firm footing. As of now, it's neither a social security number nor a number which makes direct cash transfers from the government to the poor foolproof. And that's what needs to change. It now remains to be seen whether Nandan Nilekani and his talented team can come up with a foolproof plan as a befitting answer to the naysayers.
The wait won't be long because registration for the unique identification number will restart next month, and we've got R.S. Sharma to talk about the big comeback of the project on the other side of this very short break. Stay right here with us.